Well, the Clemson Tigers, against all of the odds, have done it. They are back in the college football playoffs for the first time in 5 years. It took a little help from a few friends along the way. Shout out to Syracuse head coach Fran Brown. But the Clemson Tigers defeated the SMU Mustangs and will now take on the Texas Longhorns deep in the heart of Texas on December 21st. There's a lot to break down about this game. Griffin and I are going to talk about some of the little fun storylines coming into this matchup, more so than the game itself. That'll be coming up on the next episode of Around the Paw. But just sit back, relax. We'll tell you how the Clemson Tigers were able to defeat the SMU Mustangs, and then some of the things that we can all look forward to as college football fans when Clemson travels to Austin, Texas. All on this episode of Around the Paw. All right, well, Griffin, last Saturday, be honest, was there a point in the final 20 seconds of that ball game where you thought Clemson let this slip through their grasp? It just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I was at the game, and they, being a media person, they let you on the field with 5 minutes to go in the game. So that is when SMU was driving down the field. And you could kind of see the unnerves. There were so many people on the sidelines. You know, the ACC huddle crew on the ACC network were by the SMU end zone. So I was able to watch the touchdown kind of like with them right next to us. So I kind of heard a little bit of their insight, which was cool. But yeah, I did think that there was a little bit of that uncertainty that Clemson were going to blow this game. SMU were getting the stops on defense that they had. And then they were just all fired on offense that I expected them to just win in overtime and use their offense to guide them in the win. But it kind of turned a little bit because I believe I was standing next to Trevor Groves with CUTigers.com. And I was talking to him about it because the Adam Randall return, which I think was the most influential play of the game, regardless of what you think of the Hoosier kick and whatnot. Yes. I was talking to him about it. I'm like, how many yards do you think we're going to need? And he said probably between 15 to 20 yards. We're going to need to get to the 40-yard line if we want a chance. And after that Antonio Williams catch, he looked back at me. He's like, this might have a shot. And after that, it was just an incredible moment, just seeing everybody just flood the field, reporters, athletic persona, the players themselves. It was the most incredible Clemson game that I've witnessed in person. And it should just be a momentum booster because, hey, you won the ACC, you're in the college football playoff, and in come the Texas Longhorns with, again, like you said, a lot of storylines going into this game. So it's going to be a really exciting game no matter how the outcome is.
Well, I'll speak on this just in terms of the ending against SMU. I was here at the house, and my best friend and I were posted up on the couch in front of the larger of my two TVs in the living room, and we were alternating, we were oscillating back and forth between getting pissed off about the game and praying for a miracle and everything else. And when SMU scored, I looked at him and I said, we're not going to win this game. Look, we had our chance. If this goes to overtime, we're not winning. And I just assumed that they were going to kick the ball into the end zone. And yes, Clemson had a couple of poor returns early in the second half, but I just didn't think that they were going to give us any shot to return it. But then lo and behold, they did. And on top of that, it was right to Adam Randall, who was the forgotten man for all intents and purposes. And what did he do? All he did was return it 41 yards. And as you said, it gave Clemson a shot. And I looked at my friend Brian at that point. I said, look, 20 yards. We've got time for one play and a kick. If we can get 20 yards on this play, there's at least a shot. Exactly as you said. Look, Hoosiers got the leg. He's got a leg from 60. So for me, that wasn't the issue. But when he came out to line up for a 56-yard field goal, my first thought was this is getting blocked. But I thought it was inevitable. And I looked at him and I said, you better pray that he just misses it. Because if you don't want this to get blocked and it go back the other way, the best thing you can hope for right now is for him to just miss it. and then he just fires a howitzer shot off of his right leg. And frankly, I think it would have been good for maybe 60, 61. That ball was utterly obliterated.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was smoked. And I mean, what a scenario it was for him. I mean, this has been the live by the kick, die by the kick Clemson team that has struggled with it. I mean, look at the week 1 of Duke last year. Look at Florida State last year. This could be a completely different team if there's just one made kick at any of those moments. And it just completely turned around on Saturday night. You get the hometown kid, Cornelius, North Carolina, 20 minutes away from Bank of America Stadium, had so many family, friends, teammates on his old football team in years past. And
powerhouse in North Carolina.
He just nails it. And I mean, I got a great view of it, and it had the leg. I didn't think it was going to be, I thought he was going to clear it. I just wanted to see the direction, but I was looking at the away stands to see like what they were thinking about it, and everyone was just going nuts when they saw that it was right on. I was like, he just nailed this. And I mean, again, too, I know that you saw this especially because you were watching the broadcast. I didn't notice this until after looking at the game later on the next day. Is that he winked at Sweeney? He winked at the sideline. That's just confidence.
You beat me to it.
Yeah, it's just total It's such a confidence booster. So fair play to him. He had the biggest kick of his life on Saturday night, and he did it in front of his hometown. I mean, it can't get better than that, right?
Man, it was a great moment. And look, full disclosure here, the two, my friend and I, I think we literally danced about 10 circles around my living room. I probably scared my poor wife half to death. She was holed up in the bedroom caring absolutely nothing about that game, but we created quite a commotion. And my friend, he didn't even watch the kick. He left the room. And he said, I'll let you tell me whether or not it's good. And so this is how this went down. I am down on my knees in front of the TV, and I'm praying that this kick is good. And as soon as Hauser let it go off his right leg, at that point, it was a matter of did it have the distance, because it was a straight shot. I mean, that ball, when it was kicked so hard, that it wasn't going to have time to curve one way or the other. It was just, did he get enough of it? And probably mid-flight was when I realized he's got this. And I mean, as you said, the place erupted. You could hear it on TV. What a fantastic moment. And with that said, you talk about him doing that in front of his hometown with all of his teammates and friends and family there. Are you struggling to get insurance coverage for your roof? Don't let multiple claim denials keep you from protecting your home. Sovereign Roofing has a team of experts who know the ins and outs of the system, allowing us to be your professional guide. With up to 2 inspections included with a denied claim, we make sure your roof is properly evaluated and your insurance company can't deny it twice. From new roofs to repairs and insurance claims, our staff provides exceptional service and ensures you get the best results. Trust Sovereign Roofing for all of your roofing needs in South Carolina. Now, as Clemson turns their attention to the Texas Longhorns, traveling to Austin, Darrell K. Royal Stadium, 100,000 fans. It's one of the biggest stadiums in college football. There's another homecoming. Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik.
I mean, what could get better than that compared to last week? Is a Cade Klubnik game-winning drive in front of where he grew up. And like you said, there are so many storylines to this game. And, you know, the Clemson football social media pages know about it. I don't know if you saw the video, but there was the video of the whole team watching it. And then as soon as they saw Texas, all the cameras just turned to Cade Klubnik. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, out of all the opponents, and, you know, I'll digress for a second. I know that we'll get to this in a little bit. But out of all the opponents that you could have gotten, and, you know, there were a plethora. I think that, you know, Texas was one of 4. I thought Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State could have been those other 3 that could have been the potential opponent for Clemson. Those would have all been away games. This is the perfect opponent for Clemson. I mean, you have the homecoming aspect of Cade Klubnik, a lot of Texas guys. R.J. Mickens could be playing his last game in a Clemson jersey in his home state. Garrett Riley, he's a Texas guy. There are so many players on this Clemson team that have the ties to Texas. So it's going to be more of a personal heart game to them. It's not going to be like, you know, a Penn State game where, you know, you don't really see any of those ties. It means a lot more to these players to play in Texas, to knock off a team that is in the SEC, was in a college football playoff team last year. It could just be an overall huge narrative win for this team if they're able to do so. But like you said, Garrett, there are so many different storylines to this game, and I'm excited to kind of just unpack a lot of them that we're going to get to over the course of this podcast today.
Right. And look, quite frankly, this is Hollywood. This is a Hollywood script. The way that this game sets up between Clemson and Texas, I for one am thoroughly looking forward to it. It's the first time ever that the Tigers and Longhorns have played one another. You know, there's not too many of the major programs that at some point in the last 100 years Clemson hasn't played. Well, Texas is one of them. And so you're crossing that off the list. Cade Klubnik going home to Austin. And that kind of goes into the next storyline. Look at the quarterback over on the other sideline, Quinn Ewers. Everybody assumes he will be the starter for this game. Quinn Ewers and Cade Klubnik were rivals in high school, and they played one another in the Texas State Championship game. Well, guess who won? Cade Klubnik. He is no stranger to taking on Quinn Ewers, and certainly no stranger to beating him. So as far as I'm concerned, well, there's some added confidence right there. Look, I've done it before. Let me go out and do it again.
I mean, there is the little bit of the wild card with Arch Manning kind of waiting on the bench. I know Sark likes to use him on a couple of run plays or whatnot, kind of just to switch up the tempo of the offense. But Cade Klubnik, I think, is 3-0 against Quinn Ewers in his high school career. I know that they played in the state championship, but they've played over the course of both high school careers, and Cade has won every time. So for me, I mean, it can't really get better than that. If you're looking at a guy like Cade Klubnik, he's going to give his all heart out there. I mean, this is a kid going back home. I mean, you've seen a lot of these before. Like, for example, I know Will Howard from the Ohio State quarterback went back to Penn State. Played Penn State. Now you saw all the heart there and all of the passion that he played with. And Cade Klubnik, I mean, he's a big game player. I think that you and I can come to the agreement with that. I mean, he was able to lead that one play against SMU. He was able to get off to a hard start. Pittsburgh, he took the ball by himself, scored a touchdown. Virginia Tech, he turned the game on its head, was able to lead the offense to a couple big scores. I mean, this is a big-time player now. You could see the growth from, week one against Georgia, that big blowout. This is your chance to kind of reclaim that identity that you are one of the top quarterbacks in college football for good. Because I know that there's a lot of uncertainty. ACC conference gets a lot of slander for that and whatnot. So this is your chance. And if you're able to do it against the best defense in the SEC, the best scoring defense in the SEC, and the best yards per game defense in the SEC on their home turf, I mean, the sky's the limit for what can be said about Cade Klubnik after this game. If Clemson are able to move on to the Peach Bowl come January 1st.
Right. And look, I've actually got some of my own theories about the Texas defense and what makes them so good and some of the extraneous factors that go into that. But that's something for the next episode that we'll talk about when Cliff's joining us for the game preview episode itself. That'll be next week. But don't think for 1 minute that there's a little bit. The SEC likes to say it just means more. Well, for Cade Klubnik, this game means more. There's much more than a trip to the playoff quarterfinals riding on this for him. And I don't hesitate to say he is going to throw everything he has at the Texas Longhorns, literally and figuratively. And, it's one reason, and not to give away too much of what I'm thinking for the next episode, but it's one reason why I'm actually pretty confident in Clemson coming into this game. I think it's a better matchup for Clemson. I don't think it's a very good matchup at all for Texas.
Out of all of the matchups that Clemson have gotten, Texas is their ideal matchup out of the opponents that they could have gotten. You look at Ohio State. Clemson can't defend the run as well as many other schools can. Ohio State has two incredible running backs. Penn State, run-heavy offense. You're playing at Penn State. It's cold. I mean, I'm back in New Jersey. It's 40, 50 degrees here. Probably check it 20, 30. It's a night game there in Penn State. So, I mean, best of luck to SMU playing there from Dallas, Texas. And the same thing goes with Notre Dame. I mean, Clemson always has trouble playing at Notre Dame. They are a very run-heavy offense. Riley Leonard gave him trouble last year. This is your best chance. And I'm not going to slander Quinn Ewers, but I have not seen him play well in a big game this season. He didn't play well against Georgia either time. And you look at who Texas really played this season in the SEC. I mean, all of the top defenses Texas avoided. They didn't play Tennessee. They didn't play Alabama. They didn't play South Carolina. They did play A&M, which is a little bit different, but still, I am just not really exactly. I don't really. I could be completely wrong. He could ball out. I mean, you saw Carson Beck week 1, but this is the ideal matchup, especially with how many ties are back. You're going to have a quarterback giving all they got, especially playing it at home. But it's just going to be an exciting matchup. When I saw that it was a 14-point spread when it opened, I thought this game is going to be inside of the score no matter what.
No, absolutely. And, you talk about the defenses and Clemson struggling a little bit more to stop the run. Well, Texas's defense is going to be stretched by this Clemson passing attack. And there's your next storyline. You've got Bryant Wesco, true freshman receiver for Clemson, who, by the way, is lighting the world on fire right now. He at least lit SMU's world on fire. 10 catches for 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? On that stage, what a game he had. Well, he's from Midlothian, Texas. He's going back home thereabouts. It's in his home state. And who is he going to probably go up against? Former Clemson Tiger Andrew Mukuba, who is also from the state of Texas, who left Clemson 2 years ago and transferred to the Texas Longhorns. So talk about things coming full circle. Again, Hollywood couldn't script this any better.
Again, too, I could be completely wrong, but Mukuba had a targeting call in the SEC Championship, correct?
I believe he did, but I believe it was overturned.
Okay, because in that case, I mean, you were only going to see him for the second half. So, again, you're going to see more Hart playing your former team. Well, that's exciting. I mean, you're getting 2 sides of the ball. Andrew Mukuba was kind of even knows the Clemson scheme. I mean, a little bit, the air raid offense was still kind of being implemented because it was Garrett Riley's first year when Mukuba was there last year. But that's just going to be the point of this game. It's going to be, will the Texas defense reign supreme once again, or will the Clemson offense be able to figure out the holes with a hometown kid at the helm being able to use his heart to get to victory? So, again, too, that's another matchup I'll be excited to see. I'm excited to see how Mukuba interacts with different players. I know that there was a little bit of a falling out there. Kind of talked a little bit about.
I was going
Clemson.
to say I'm interested in seeing mentally what Mukuba puts into this ball game because, frankly, we know the motivation for Cade Klubnik, and Cade is such a cerebral guy that I don't think he gets lost in that moment. I think he understands what it means for himself and the team. But Mukuba, when he left, maybe there was a little bit more going on excuse me, behind closed doors than we were hearing or that we knew about. But once he was out the door, he was taking a few digs at Clemson in the media. So we'll see where his mind is at going into this ball game.
Again, so when you're playing a former team, you generally are more focused. You generally want to be the bigger person out of this kind of breakup that happened between Mukuba and Clemson. So that's just another matchup I like to see. I know that he likes to play a lot of free safety. So no matter who he's defending, whether if it's a deep route by Wesco, Antonio Williams, that's a former teammate that he had, or TJ Moore. I mean, that's kind of going to be the wild cards here. Are these 2 freshman receivers going to continue to turn heads and maybe change the scheme that Sark wanted going into this defense, going into this Texas defense? So there's just so many different elements coming together for this game that you can't really see a blowout happening in this game. This is going to be a very tightly contested game between 2 coaches that know how to be here. And again, with Texas, I mean, they have just been on the come up. They were a college football playoff team last year, 2 years ago, put Bama to their brink. I mean, Steve Sarkisian is building an incredible program over in Austin. And I mean, I don't know about you, but there are certain teams in college football that when they're good, college football seems a little bit better. When Texas is good, college football seems like it's better. So I'm excited to see this game. I'm currently still on the fence if I'm going to travel to Austin for the game. But no matter what, this is going to be a good game no matter what. And it's an incredible way to start the first round of the college football playoff.
Right. And I'll tell you what, I'll just say on a personal level, I'm really kind of leaning toward, heading out there as well. I'd call it a quick trip to Texas. But look, I told some of my coworkers today, put rooting interests aside. It doesn't matter who your team is or who you pull for. If you are a fan of college football in general, and you make a list of venues and stadiums that you want to see a game in your lifetime, well, Darrell K. Royal should be right at the top of that list. Now, I personally think Death Valley and Clemson should be too. But we have that luxury, week in and week out during the football season. But how many times can Clemson fans say, hey, I've got a good reason to go out to Austin, Texas and see a game at Darrell K. Royal Stadium? It's about as good as it gets in terms of a college football atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, plane tickets are expensive with it being very close by, Christmas, whatnot. So if you can get there, I mean, it's going to be
3 or 4 people together and get in the car and drive and split gas 4 ways.
Why not? I mean, it works. It works. I know a lot of people doing that. So it's just going to be an exciting game. It's just something that you can't miss, whether you're going to be at a Clemson bar watching it, at a bar, just anywhere in the country doing it, or being there in Austin, Texas, and watching the game in person. It's just, I mean, all these stadiums that are playing these first round games are awesome. You're looking at Texas, you're looking at Penn State Beaver Stadium, just incredible. You get to see touchdown Jesus over at Notre Dame, and then you're going to the shoe for Ohio State, Tennessee. So, I mean, for this first season of the extended college football playoff, it's very exciting to see how it is. But I mean, look at the bye week. I mean, if Clemson win this game, they're going to have to go to Atlanta, which is considered a home game because they'll be playing Arizona State. So a lot more Clemson fans will be able to go to that game, and it will seem like there's a lot more orange than that scarlet and orange. So it's truly an exciting game. It's going to be an incredible playoff. I'm excited to see how it rolls out.
Well, I'll say this, and then I've got one more storyline very quickly I want to get to before we wrap this episode up. But look, if Clemson comes away with a win in this first round game, I'll put it to you this way. Arizona State would worry me far, far less than Texas would.
Especially with it being a neutral site game. It's closer in Atlanta. Again, this is the SEC you're talking about, so there's always that kind of stigma in your face that, okay, this is going to be a very tough game. Like you said, Darrell Royal Stadium is one of the best in college football. There's 100,000 plus fans there, so you're expecting a lot of environment. I'm sure that these Clemson players, are really dialing in and digging in and kind of embracing that underdog mentality. I mean, it starts at the helm with head coach Dabo Swinney. So, I mean, if you're an underdog and you're Clemson, I mean, if you look at this team, they don't have anything to lose. You won the ACC, congratulations. You're going to Texas, who have national championship title hopes. They lost the SEC to Georgia, heartbreaking fashion. They had a backup quarterback lead them to victory in overtime. So, I mean, Clemson has nothing to lose. Again, they're an underdog. They're a multiple score underdog. You've seen this situation before. So it's just going to be an exciting game, and I'm just sincerely counting down the days till this happens.
Yeah, same here. And the last storyline I do want to hit very briefly is the Steve Sarkisian factor, because this is a coach that is no stranger to what Clemson's capable of in a do-or-die, winner-take-all game. And he was interim offensive coordinator at Alabama in January 2017, when Deshaun Watson quite literally set Alabama's defense in the city of Tuscaloosa on fire for Clemson's first national title since 1981. Well, Sarkisian, of all people, should be familiar with the Dabo Swinney motivational factor and what this Clemson team can do when everybody else has counted them out and they feel like it's us against the world. I think if Sarkisian's smart, given his past experience, he ought to be drilling it in his players' heads, if he hasn't been already, that this Clemson team is dangerous, particularly when you've got them cornered with their backs to the wall.
Yeah. Again, there's nothing to lose for Clemson. This is, a national championship hope was their goal, but again, they haven't been there in a while. So you kind of change that goal around a little bit, and winning the ACC and getting into the college football playoff was obviously on their list. Now you got there. You're playing a team with much higher hopes. That stress comes in. You're at home. You don't want to let your team down. What better team to play disruptor than Clemson? I mean, just that. And another story, I know another storyline was when Dabo Swinney took the head coaching role at Clemson. Gary, I don't know if you heard about this story. The first guy that he listened to was he took a trip down to Austin, Texas, and learned from Mac Brown, who was coaching Texas at the time. So again, it's just another full circle moment where you're seeing just so many different elements come together. Swinney, it's kind of a little bit of a homecoming for him, being able to learn under Mac Brown, being able to kind of see that Austin, Texas culture, that UT Austin culture. So just with so many different storylines and elements, you've seen this before with so many different games. It's just going to be a perfect game that sets up the college football playoff really well with a good first round matchup.
There's no doubt about it. I know you're as excited as I am, and we have an opportunity. We'll break down this game a lot more and actually get more into the technical aspects and the statistics and individual matchups on the next episode of Around the Paw. That's coming up next week, where you, I, and Cliff will get together and break it all down from an analytical standpoint. But these are just some things to chew on. If you're fans, if we have some Texas fans that find their way to this video, or all of our Clemson fans and Tiger Nation, you've really got a lot of things to chew on and digest when it comes to the personal storylines, the connotations, and the meanings for the players and the coaches. So, this was kind of fun to talk about as kind of a prelude to what's going to be a fantastic game and a fantastic moment, win or lose, for both teams.
Again, this is the first time these two teams are meeting, these great programs of the 21st century. I mean, both these teams are national championship winners. So what better way to match these two teams for the first time is in the first round of the postseason of this extended college football playoff. So out of all the games that I've kind of looked forward, trying to be unbiased as I can, this was the one that I think that had the most implication, the most storylines. So let's just do it. I mean, we have 10 days until it happens. So still a lot of time to kind of digest. So, of course, we'll hear from the players on both sides. And then come December 21st, I mean, you just got to go at it. And, again, this Clemson team has nothing to lose. So it's exciting to see how they're going to kind of react to that and perform in that environment coming a week and a half.
Yep, absolutely. And that's about really all there is to say about it. So hope everybody's enjoyed this episode, and a lot of fun things to talk about. Still a lot more fun things to come to talk about, and we'll do that on the next episode of Around the Paw. But until then, I'm Gary Mitchell, and Griffin Barfield, as always, signing off by saying it's a great day to be a Clemson Tiger. And as always, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.